What you think you know is only the beginning.
On April 11th, 1981, in the quiet resort town of Keddie, Plumas County, California, a gruesome tragedy unfolded in cabin 28 of the Keddie Resort. Glenna Sue Sharp, 36, her son John Sharp, 15, and his friend Dana Wingate, 17, were found brutally bludgeoned and stabbed to death. Sue's daughter Tina Sharp, 12, vanished from the scene, her fate unknown for years. 3 younger children, Rick Sharp, 10, Greg Sharp, 5, and their friend Justin Smart, 12, survived, asleep in an adjacent room. The discovery on April 12th by Sue's daughter Sheila Sharp, 14, shattered Keddie's 1,200 residents, turning their peaceful Sierra Nevada haven into a place of fear and suspicion. Keddie in 1981 was a struggling logging community, its economy battered by mill closures and the post-1970s recession. The Keddie Resort, once a summer retreat, offered cheap cabins to families like the Sharps, who moved there in November 1980 seeking affordable rent. Cabin 28, a dilapidated wooden structure, sat amid towering pines. Its isolation, no streetlights, few phones, both a charm and a curse. The town's 50 cabins, many vacant, housed a mix of locals and transients, drawn by low costs but wary of the surrounding wilderness. The evening of April 11th began with warmth. Sue, a single mother and part-time waitress, hosted John and Dana, who had hitchhiked 6 miles from Quincy to spend the night. Tina, an aspiring artist, sketched horses in her notebook, her favorite pastime. At 7:00 p.m., Sue prepared spaghetti, the cabin alive with chatter. John and Dana left around 9:00 p.m. for a Quincy party, returning by 10:30 p.m., as a neighbor later recalled. Rick, Greg, and Justin played cards, retreating to a back bedroom by 11:00 p.m. Sue read a romance novel, her lamp glowing. No screams were reported, though a neighbor's dog barked at midnight. The horror surfaced at 7:45 a.m. on April 12th, when Sheila returned from a sleepover at Cabin 27. Pushing open Cabin 28's door, she found Sue, John, and Dana dead in the living room, bound with electrical tape and medical tape, their bodies battered by a hammer and knife. Tina was gone, her shoes and jacket left behind. Blood soaked the carpet. A claw hammer and steak knife lay nearby, wiped clean. Sheila's scream drew neighbors, who shielded her. Rick, Greg, and Justin emerged, dazed, claiming they heard nothing. "Mama's not moving," Rick sobbed, clinging to Greg. Plumas County Sheriff Doug Thomas arrived at 8:15 a.m., sealing the cabin. The scene was chaotic, blood-splattered walls, furniture overturned. No fingerprints were lifted from the weapons. Tina's absence sparked fears of kidnapping. Sue's purse, containing $20.00, was untouched, suggesting no robbery. A neighbor reported a shady figure near the resort at 11:30 p.m., but details were vague. Keddie's remoteness, no CCTV. One deputy complicated early efforts. Something evil came here, a local pastor said at a vigil, his voice quaking. Sharps. Humanity defined the tragedy. Sue, resilient after a divorce, moved to Keddie for a fresh start, her kindness evident in potlucks she hosted. John, a lanky skateboarder, dreamed of joining the Navy. Dana, a friend from Quincy, was a gentle soul despite a troubled home. Tina, quiet, filled notebooks with horse drawings, hoping to be a veterinarian. Their vulnerabilities, Sue's late shifts, John's hitchhiking, were typical in Keddie, but their joy, singing at community barbecues, was its heartbeat. "They were our family," a neighbor wept. Initial clues were sparse but chilling. Footprints, size 9, led from the cabin to a dirt road, fading in pine needles. A blood-stained jacket, not belonging to the victims, was found in a ditch 100 yards away, but it was never tested. The tape used to bind the victims was common, sold locally. Justin, questioned gently, mentioned a dream of men arguing in the cabin, but his account was inconsistent, clouded by shock. Rumors of drug debts or Sue's ex-husband surfaced, but no evidence supported them. Keddie's shock was palpable, its rhythm disrupted. Loggers armed themselves, patrolling cabins at night, Churches held nightly prayers packed with mourners. Sheila, staying with her uncle, clutched Tina's sketches, whispering, "You're alive." Children stopped roaming the woods, their laughter silenced. Systemic issues, underfunded sheriffs, no regional forensics lab, hindered the response. Was it a random killer, a local, or a vendetta? Cabin 28, its windows boarded, became a specter, its bloodstains a wound Keddie couldn't close. The community rallied, but fear lingered. Flyers with Tina's face, brown hair, shy smile were taped to Quincy's storefronts. Neighbors shared stories of Sue's generosity, vowing to protect her surviving kids. Yet whispers of drugs or strangers divided some, tainting the grief. The Sacramento Bee reported Keddie's slaughter, amplifying panic. Keddie's isolation, once a refuge, now felt like a trap, its pines hiding answers no one could find. By April 13, 1981, the Keddie cabin murders had plunged Plumas County into dread as the deaths of Sue Sharp, John Dana Wingate, and Tina Sharp's disappearance drove a frantic search. Sheriff Doug Thomas established a command post at Keddie Resort, his maps crisscrossed with search grids. Sheila Sharp, 14, appeared on Sacramento's KCRA radio pleading, "Tina, we need you." Bloggers, church members, and Quincy teens scoured the Sierras, pines, and rivers, hoping to find Tina alive. Keddie's 1,200 residents, their trust frayed, faced a nightmare that turned their close-knit town into a place of suspicion. Thomas's deputies acted swiftly, interviewing 250 locals within days. Sue was last seen at 11 p.m. on April 11th, reading. John and Dana returned by 10:30 p.m. per a neighbor's sighting. Tina's absence, without her shoes, suggested abduction. No CCTV existed in Keddie. The resort's payphone showed no outgoing calls. A witness reported a green pickup near Cabin 28 at 1:15 a.m., but no plate was noted. Over 350 tips flooded in, sightings of Tina, suspicious drifters, each chased with urgency across Plumas County's rugged terrain. Search parties braved the Sierras wilderness, their resolve unyielding. Volunteers with flashlights swept Feather River's banks, their voices echoing Tina's name. Canine units, given Tina's sweater, tracked 600 yards from the cabin to a logging road where the scent vanished. A girl's shoe, found April 14 near a creek, wasn't Tina's. Rain on April 16 blurred tracks, slowing efforts. A California Highway Patrol helicopter scanned 120 square miles, its blades chopping through fog, but spotted no trace. The forest's density, pines, ravines, swallowed hope, its silence deafening. Keddie's community poured its heart into the search. The Methodist Church printed 2,500 flyers. Tina Sharp 12, missing April 11th. Teens taped them to Quincy's bars and gas stations. Pastor John Miller led nightly prayers urging keep looking. Women baked for searchers, their hands trembling. Sheila's uncle, Tom Carter, searched trails daily, saying, "She's my niece." Vigils filled Keddie's community hall, 200 candles glowing under Tina's horse sketches. "She's one of us," a mill worker said, his voice breaking, binding a town in shared grief. Key moments fueled fleeting hope. A camper near Oroville reported a girl like Tina on April 13th, but she was a local teen. A bloodstained scarf in a ravine found April 17 was animal blood, likely from a hunter. A Quincy diner waitress recalled two scruffy men on April 10, one mentioning Keddie, but they paid cash, leaving no trace. Justin's dream of men in the cabin, one bearded, one with a knife, was probed, but his fear muddled details. "We'll find her," Thomas told the press, ordering divers to drag Spanish Creek. Challenges were formidable, testing endurance. Keddie's remoteness, no cell towers, one deputy for 900 square miles. Obscured clues. Tina's photo, a blurry school portrait, was hard to distribute in pre-internet 1981. The crime scene contaminated by onlookers, lost critical evidence. Volunteers battled hypothermia, their boots soaked in April's chill. Plumas County's budget gutted by recession, limited canine units and air support. Rumors, drug deals, cults, derailed focus. "It's a fog," a deputy muttered, sifting tips. of runaways, ex-cons, or accidents. The emotional toll was devastating, reshaping lives. Sheila, now with her uncle, clutched Tina's notebook, sobbing, "I should have stayed home." Tom neglected his mill job, his pickup rattling over trails. Sue's parents, driving from Oregon, posted flyers in Reno, their eyes hollow. Rick and Greg, in foster care, asked neighbors, "Is Tina lost?" Thomas, a father, missed his son's baseball games, haunted by John's fate. Keddie's unity cracked. Some embraced Sheila, others whispered of Sue's dating. Gossip, meth rings, strangers stung the family, their pain raw. By April 25, the search stretched to Butte County. A tip about a girl in Chico led to a foster home, not Tina. A knife in Feather River, found April 20, was unrelated, rusted from fishing. The green pickup's description, rusted, no decals, was too common. Justin, in counseling, recalled no new details. Searchers, exhausted, returned to mills, their axes heavy. Vigils drew 150, their candles dimming. Keddie's spirit, rooted in shared suppers, wavered, but Tina's sketches, horses galloping, a plea for answers in a town gripped by dread. By May 1981, the Keddie cabin murders had cemented their place as Plumas County's darkest mystery, with Sheriff Doug Thomas and California Department of Justice agent Harry Bradley struggling to unravel the April 11 killings of Sue Sharp, John Sharp, Dana Wingate, and the disappearance of Tina Sharp. Cabin 28's blood-soaked living room, with its wiped weapons and missing girl, defined a case plagued by lost evidence, contaminated scenes, and elusive leads. Keddie's 1,200 residents, their sense of safety shattered, grew guarded, their hope fading as an investigation faltered amid mishandled forensics, conflicting accounts, and a killer's silence in the Sierra Nevada's vast wilderness. Thomas's team meticulously retraced the night, but gaps persisted. Sue was last seen at 11:00 p.m. on April 11th, reading in cabin 28. John and Dana returned by 10:30 p.m., confirmed by a neighbor's porch-light glimpse. Tina, likely in bed, vanished without her jacket. The murders, estimated between midnight and 2:00 a.m., involved a claw hammer and steak knife, both found clean of fingerprints. Tina's absence suggested abduction, but no ransom emerged. The crime scene, overrun by 25 neighbors before deputies secured it, lost footprints, hairs, and potential DNA, unusable in 1981's limited forensic landscape. A blood-stained denim jacket found 100 yards away was misplaced in evidence lockup by June, a costly error later exposed. The evidence was stark yet incomplete, fueling frustration. Size 9 footprints led from the cabin to a logging road, erased by April's rain. The hammer, its handle scrubbed, bore no traces. 1981 labs couldn't test for micro-DNA. The knife, bent from force, was a generic brand sold at Keddie's store. Untraceable. Electrical and medical tape binding the victims was common, purchased by 70 locals that month. Justin Smart, the 12-year-old survivor, described a dream of two men, one bearded, one stocky, arguing in the cabin, but his trauma and young age muddled the account, leaving investigators chasing phantoms. Witnesses offered faint glimmers, quickly dimming. A Quincy bartender, Frank Cole, saw John and Dana at a bar on April 11th, talking to a tall man in a flannel shirt, but he left alone, unidentifiable. Neighbor Betty Lee heard a sharp cry at 12:45 a.m., thought to be a TV until news broke. A Keddie gas station clerk recalled two men buying beer at 10:30 p.m., one with a beard, but their truck's plate was unseen. Over 500 interviews, mill workers, teens, Sue's diner co-workers found no enemies. Sue's ex-husband, James Sharp, was in Connecticut, alibied by a work log. John's hitchhiking and Dana's occasional marijuana use were scrutinized, but no drug debts surfaced. "They didn't deserve this," Sheila Sharp, 14, told Bradley, her voice trembling. In July, a lead emerged. A blood-stained glove found May 10th in a creek half a mile from cabin 28. Tests showed human blood, O positive, matching 40% of locals, but the glove was lost in storage by August, untyped. Further, a Reno pawn shop reported a man selling a watch like John's on April 20, but the seller, a drifter, had fled, untraceable. The jacket, briefly recovered in September, was too degraded for testing. Its fibers, ruined. Over 400 transients, loggers, hippies were questioned, their boots measured, but none matched the footprints or Justin's vague dream. A blood-stained rope in a ravine found July 5th was bovine, another dead end. Motives were a puzzle, defying logic. The tape and binding suggested premeditation, not a random act. But Sue's untouched purse ruled out robbery. Was it vengeance? Sue dated casually, but no jealous ex was found. Her trucker boyfriend was in Oregon, alibied. A drug deal? Dana's weed use was recreational with no ties to dealers. A stranger attack. Keddie's drifters, common in 1981, left no trace. It's targeted, Bradley speculated, noting the blow's brutality. Serial killer, local feud, burglary gone wrong, lacked evidence, the cabin's blood, a mute witness. The investigation's toll was crushing, scarring Keddie's soul. Sheila, orphaned, lived with her uncle, Tom Carter, clutching Tina's sketches. I dream of her. Rick and Greg, in foster care, drew cabins in therapy, asking why us. Tom quit his mill job, searching creeks, his hands calloused. Thomas, a father, skipped his daughter's recital, haunted by Sue's bound wrists. Bradley, a veteran agent, avoided Quincy's woods, the case his obsession. Keddie split. Some supported Sheila, others whispered of Sue's lifestyle or John's hitchhiking. Gossip, satanic cults, drug cartels deepened the family's wounds. By October, clues fizzled. A hiker found a knife sheath near Spanish Creek on September 15, but it didn't match the murder weapon and was misplaced by November. A tip about a bearded man in Susanville led to a logger alibied by his wife. The green pickup re-reported in Chico was a false match. Over 600 interviews, 500 tips, no suspect. Evidence logs audited in 1982 revealed missing crime scene photos and a hammer's packaging. Never recovered. The cabin, sealed, drew mourners, its porch heavy with wilted daisies. Media scrutiny grew, exposing flaws. The Sacramento Bee's Keddie Unsolved in September criticized Thomas's team, noting lost evidence. Reporters swarmed Plumas County's courthouse demanding leads. Locals shared Justin's dream on San Francisco TV, sparking national intrigue. Pre-internet, CB radios and bar talk spread tales, Satanism, cover-ups. Thomas pleaded, "We're trying." Keddie's isolation, no forensics lab. One deputy shielded the killer. Deputies working 18-hour shifts, missed family events. 4 quit, haunted by Dana's face. The investigation, by 1983, was a cold case, its threads unraveled. Over 5,000 man-hours, 800 interviews, and 700 tips yielded nothing. Forensics, limited to blood typing, failed. The glove, jacket, sheath, and photos were lost. The forest, searched by 300 volunteers, hid no body. Private eyes, hired by Tom, probed Quincy's bars, finding no grudges. Justin's therapy clarified little, his dream, a trauma's echo. Cabin 28, a ghost, stood empty, its bloodstains faded. Keddie's loggers, their hope dim, mourned a family lost to a night of unrelenting terror. By 1983, the Keddie cabin murders remained Plumas County's deepest wound, with Sheriff Doug Thomas and DOJ agent Harry Bradley chasing shadows in the April 11, 1981 killings of Sue Sharp, John Sharp, Dana Wingate, and Tina Sharp's disappearance. On April 22, 1984, Tina's skull was found 29 miles away near Camp 18, confirming her death. But no killer was named. Lost evidence. A glove, a jacket, a sheath, and a tainted crime scene left the case unsolved, haunting Keddie's 1,200 residents, their trust broken by a murderer who vanished into the Sierra's pines. The suspect profile, built from scraps, was agonizingly vague. Justin Smart's dream described 2 men, bearded, stocky, 30-40, arguing in cabin 28, one holding a knife, but his trauma blurred details. Size 9 footprint suggested a male, possibly local, familiar with Keddie's trails. The electrical and medical tape bindings and wiped weapons implied planning. A tall stranger, seen with John at a Quincy bar on April 11th per bartender Frank Cole, was the focus, but sketches drew no matches. They knew the cabin, Bradley told Thomas. noting the untouched purse, ruling out theft. No arrest came, but leads were pursued relentlessly, each collapsing. The blood-stained jacket found April 12th was lost in evidence lockup by July, untested. A glove found May 10 had human blood but was misplaced in 1983, untyped. The green pickup, seen at 1:15 a.m., was traced to 80 owners, none linked. Over 900 men, loggers, drifters, Quincy locals, were questioned, their boots and alibis checked, but none matched the prints or Justin's vision. Hammer and knife, scrubbed clean, were dead ends, their brands sold statewide. Witnesses offered fragments, not answers. Neighbor Betty Lee saw a dark figure near cabin 28 at 1 o'clock IMU, but shadows hid his face. A Keddie clerk, Mary Harris, recalled 2 men buying tape on April 10, one limping, but their truck, a blue Ford, was untraceable. A logger, Tom Dunn, heard a gruff voice near the resort at 1:45 IMU, but saw no one. Over 800 interviews, bar patrons, churchgoers yielded no motive. Sue's ex-boyfriend, a trucker, was in Reno, alibied. Dana's weed use led to a Quincy dealer cleared by polygraph. It's a black hole, Thomas sighed, sorting tips of cults, hitmen, or hippies. Suspicion briefly fell on Marty Smart, 35, Justin's stepfather, who lived near cabin 28. Smart, with a 1979 assault charge, argued with Sue over noise on April 10. His size 10 boots didn't match the prints, and his alibi, drinking at a Quincy bar, was shaky but backed by a friend. Questioned, he denied involvement. His trailer clean of blood. A letter he wrote mentioning moving on, raised flags, but no physical evidence linked him. Marty's troubled, not a murderer, Bradley concluded. Keddie's gossip vilified Smart, driving him to Oregon. In 1982, another lead targeted Carl Tate, 40, a drifter arrested in Oroville for theft. Tate, with size 9 boots, bragged of Keddie trouble in a bar. His knife collection and transient life drew scrutiny, but no blood or tape tied him. He claimed he was in Redding on April 11th, unconfirmed but uncontradicted. His lean build didn't match Justin's stocky figure, and he vanished after release. Tate's all talk, Thomas said, closing the file. Justin's bearded man remained a ghost. Tina's skull, found April 22, 1984 by a bottle collector, shifted the case. Dental records confirmed her, but no other bones, clothes, or weapon were found. Weathering erased trauma. No DNA was testable in 1984. She's at rest, Sheila told the Plumas County News, her voice hollow. The site, searched by 70 deputies, yielded no prints or fibers. Theories: abduction, murder elsewhere lacked proof. The forest's silence mocked the effort. Its ravines hiding no answers. Keddie's reaction was raw, a town broken. Sheila, 17, led a memorial on May 5, 1984, scattering Tina's sketch ashes, there together. Rick and Greg left flowers, silent. Sue's parents from Oregon stopped searching, their hope gone. The community hall drew 500 mourners, candles under Tina's drawings. The Sacramento Bee's, Keddie's final victim, fueled rumors, cover-ups, Satanism. Keddie split. Others armed themselves, eyeing strangers. Cabin 28, demolished in 2004, left a void, its site shunned. The investigators' toll was brutal. Thomas, retired in 1983, kept Sue's photo, vowing, "I failed." Bradley, graying, avoided forests, haunted by Justin's words. Deputies quit, plagued by nightmares. 5 sought counseling. The cabin's lot became a shrine, ribbons faded by wind. Vigils drew 100, singing Amazing Grace, seeking closure. Evil stayed, a pastor told CBS, his church packed. Keddie's spirit dimmed, its kids indoors, its mills quieter. The case opened in 2025 as a legend of loss. Over 7,000 manuals, 1,000 interviews, and 900 tips bore no fruit. Forensics crippled by 1981 limits and lost items. Glove, jacket, sheath, photos. Failed. The forest hid no secrets. Private eyes hired by Sheila found no vendettas. Justin, an adult, recalled no clarity. The tape, hammer, and pickup remained enigmas. The sharps, Sue's warmth, Tina's horses, John's dreams, drove the quest, their loss, a wound unhealed. Keddie bound to a night of unrelenting horror. If you're passionate about shocking crimes and secrets that have never been revealed, follow 24H Crimes Archives. We tell the stories of the crimes and you are the one uncovering the truth. Stay with us because the truth always speaks.